Hello and welcome back to this YouTube video. In this YouTube video, we're just going to be explaining how to use Axios, Axios Get and Axios Post, including also React Router. So we're just going to get straight into it and show you the end product which we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have a homepage, which is on the directory of slash and slash users list, where we can see all the users on directory slash users. And we're supposed to have another directory called slash create, which has add another user. So we're just going to get straight to it. In app.jsx, we are importing our routes. So this is a new thing that we just learned today, where we first had to install something called React Router and to enable us to get these two routes and route. And we're just importing all the files that we need, for example, the navbar, home, users, and create user. So here is where we actually do determine each page redirectory name. So for example, for home, it's going to be on the main like index kind of page that for PHP. So whenever you do slash for PHP, it reads this as index.php, which is basically the main page as the landing page. So that's why you put home as slash. That is the main directory where everybody's going to go as they come to the page on their for the first time. Then we go to slash for the slash users. This is showing us the users list. And slash create, this is where we create the users. Without further ado, we're gonna go straight into slash users. In slash users, as you can see, we are displaying each user we're basically displaying each user one by one. So how did we achieve this? In slash users, basically what we did use three main things, which is use states, use effect, and Axios. So what we did over here, we have our use states over here. So we have a use state for users. So this is basically an array of users, whereby once we get them from the array, immediately we're using states to store them inside of this user array. And we also have the loading states. On every app, literally every app should have this loading state when you are fetching from an API to have better user experience. So in what we do for why we first use effect, first of all, instead of just doing normal just doing the normal function as it is we use effect when we are most likely trying to get these APIs, when we're fetching APIs. Why, would you ask? First of all, I'd like to pinpoint this part, which is the dependency array section over here. So here you can decide when you do want this actual function to be running. You could let it run when a company does change. You could make it run on a first rerun. You could make it run anytime you actually want, just according to what you put into this dependency array over here. So for us, we put nothing. Nothing means it's going to run every single time on the first render. It's going to run once. I'm keeping that like strict. It's going to run once on every render. So that's why we use our use effect over here. So inside of our use effect, we create a load users function, which is asynchronous, which enable us to use this await keyword. So inside here, we just have the set loading to true because we are loading the users, so we need to set it to true. And here is where we get the response from the API using axios.get, as you can see over here. So once we get the response, immediately we are saving it into this array called users using this function called set users. So then finally we set the loading to false, blah blah blah. Then if the loading is true, it's basically just going to set the loading. It's going to set the whole page to literally loading. So to actually list these users, even though I do have some CSS, this is just the main core of how to use it. So we map users using .map. So over here, you can see user.map over here. Everyone, I'm pretty sure if you've learned a few basic JavaScript, you know how to use .map. Within .map, we just have basically what the code is depending on to loop through the whole array. So we're using user. Before I had it named as I just named the user to be more clear. User and index. The index, we're using it for the key. So as you can see over here, we have user.name, user.age, and user.email. What it's doing is just looping through the loop, through the array, and going through every single element within the array and just displaying them over here inside of the list element. That is it for the users. So now when we go to create, it's a little bit more different. We still are using our three main components: useState, useEffect, and Axios. Of course, not many developers are going to go the same route as I did, because I did end up fetching again inside of create.jsx. Some people would not fetch from create.jsx and they would use something else. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what that is right now. I've seen it in a few codes, but I'm not sure how to go about it. So that's why I just use my normal logic. So we have our states again over here. Use states, sorry. We have our use states over here. So on our use states over here, we have our names, our emails. Those are the two we're trying to track, and that was what was on the assignment. So over here, it's basically our temporal variables that are going to be inside of this code before we do actually post them. So this is where everything is just going to be stored once the user is typing something down here. So we do use a use effect again, like in the users over here. Over here, you can see the users over here. So we do use it just because I do want to fetch them again. I'm going to show you why here in a bit. But I first fetch them. It's the same logic as in users. So I first fetch them. And again, you have to keep watch for this error handling that we have over here to just let us know whenever an error happens, and we can know how to fix it because it does print out the error over here. So now we add a new function. This is not seen in the other code because now we are handling with submissions with a form. So the task was basically, if you can see over here on add user, we have a form. On this form, everything here is tracked. This input is tracked, and whenever the user types something, it's going to be tracked and it's going to be placed into the name variable. And when I do tap submit, it should pass a function. The function should not always be running. It should pass the function reference. So let's go into the code so that I can show you what I'm talking about over here. So on the handle submit, as you can see over here, when I have a button and I submit, it's going to, the form is basically handling this. On submit by the button, it's going to reference this, function. So it's not, if we do this, it's just going to be running every single time. But if you do this, we are basically referencing this function. So it runs whenever we do on submit. So of course, e.prevent default, is event.prevent default is just to ensure that the page does not refresh whenever you tap submit. And now here, what my basic logic was, is once we do fetch them first, I first create a new array or object, you can call it. Within this object, I have the new users, I have the user's inputs. For example, here I have the name, the one that the user did input, and the email of what the user did input. And then the same thing over here, but here's different. Here we're using Axios.post. We're getting the API, of course, but again, we're putting what we wanted to post inside of here, which is my object over here, right? So as you can see over here, again, we do get the data just in case you do want to print out the response over here. But here, as you can see over here, I set the users. Within this users, as you can see, I also did use state over here to keep track of the users. So I do spread out the users, and afterwards I put our data on which we have posted over here. So every time, so as you can see over here, it's updated every single time whenever we do post something new. Because of course I'm using the same logic as the first dependency. We are not using any dependency over here, so it's going to render once. It's going to fetch that once on once on the first render. So we must have something to keep on updating this users function over here. That's basically it, honestly. That's for the add user. But one thing I didn't show you is within the form we have to control each input by just basically setting e.target.value. So whenever they do type, for example, right now if I type DA is already inside name, so it's basically inside of the name variable DA. So that's basically it for this. I can basically show you how this works. If I write my name Levi over here and I write levi@gmail.com, we post that, it's gonna send us an alert. We scroll all the way down here, as you can see over here, Levi. Thank you for watching this video, and yeah, thank you.